Thank you, Mignon, for that beautiful playing.
Good morning. Sitting here reflecting on Story Man, sitting next to his brother, and he has the same laughter and the same voice, and it's just wow, hear him laugh and tell him stories the same way, and it kind of reminds me of his brother. So it's a joy to hear him talk. I'm sitting there just listening, and when he laughs, I said, "That's boy, he said, sounds just like rope, But today, we come here to reflect, to honor. So sometimes in our ways as Native people, it's through our songs that how we express ourselves, because sometimes words are only words. It's so hard to find words in a time like this. The only thing that we can do is encourage, the relatives and friends, to support the loved ones that are left behind, For they say, that loved one is transitioned to that other way. For life never ends. It's a constant life. So now we have a new beginning, in a spiritual way. We're all going to go home. And one thing good about it is that they say when we go back home, we're like 30 years younger. So as I keep getting older and older, I think to myself, well, man, when I get there, somebody will be looking pretty snazzy, In spirit, that's how it is. So, and laughter is medicine, So at this time, we're going to open up with a prayer. We ask Creator to guide our relative home, like that. Thank the many friends and relatives that come in, and ask continuous safe travels for ones that are coming, like that. The song that I would be singing would be A New Beginning. So in that song, reflect on the good times, and that's how we work together. We, in memory of Rope, and we ask Creator, to bless us. And then at this time, we're going to just reflect on all the beautiful moments that he shared with us, like that. So in honor of that, I would like to please everybody to stand. And you know what I really enjoyed when I used to go to the church? Everybody to the right and to the left, shake each other's hand, and they're behind you. Hey, all right, that's what we like. That's unity. That's coming together. That was the best part that I liked, when they said everybody say hi to each other and enjoy each other. I mean, it kind of it just makes me feel good, to see people come together. Tawam, neke, tawam, neke, tandina, hayo, tandina, hayo, Taiwan, neke, Taiwan, neke, tandina, seated. And that song is a new beginning, you know, a new beginning of his spiritual life. And so I just want to ask Creator, you know, to continue blessing the family, and the songs are is our prayer, you know, for all the many lives that he touched, you know, but he's still in spirit, you know, he's still around, you know, and just reflect on all the good times, and again, you know, support the loved ones, you know, that are left behind, because they're the ones that we need to worry about. Thank you very much. Oh.
I'd like to thank everyone for being here today in honor of Bright Rope. I thank Creator for allowing me to share 30 years of our lives together, and I feel so blessed to have shared it with such a fantastic man. I call it a 30-year adventure, and I know he'll be greatly missed, and I'll miss his laughter and his jokes, his card tricks, and anybody who walked through that door that had to put up with that. But I'd like to thank everybody, bless everybody for being here today. Aho. I'm bringing up my ladies, my sisters. We belong to a drum group named Ishka. We're going to be singing an Osage traveling song that was gifted to us many, many years ago. And it's about traveling, be it physical or spiritual. But we're going to sing it for Bright Rope's journey. Could we just go over here, all over here, this way?
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Stan Padilla. I'm a friend to the community. I've been a friend to Bright Rope since the early 1970s. And I wanted to share some gentle words, but gentle words that have strength and stability for us to move on. When a friend like this passes, it's never easy, you know. And we have to face the fact we're not going back to the way it was again. There's a finality, right? So grieving begins. In our indigenous Mexican traditions, we say we die 3 times. First of all, flatline, no more oxygen. We know that the body has stopped. But we also know that's not the end. The second phase is when we have a memorial, when a body is interned, or a funeral, which means everything becomes story. Do you remember the time when he did this? Do you remember what he did this? And it all kind of lives in a story because it's all in the past, and that's where we are today. The third stage would be the final. That's when we would forget these things and forget him. And that's what we're not going to let happen. He mattered in this world, and that's the message I bring today. He was a man of his times. He gave, he sacrificed. Historically, history will tell his story, the part he played as a teacher, as a friend, as a father, as a grandfather. So I would invite you to imagine now the 1970s. Some of you weren't even born yet. And some of the rest of you maybe weren't even awake. You were just working and carrying on. This area, Placer County, was a very different place. You know, 2 years ago, we lost our rural status. We're no longer rural. We're considered urban now. But at that time, you remember horses and buggies and spurs and things like that. I mean, those were things. So at that time, there were a group of people who came from all parts of the world and all parts of it here. Bright Rope is a part of that group and that family. Where we met, it's unfortunate to say, but we were migrating and we were moving out of the mainstream because we had come out of deep activism. CONTELPRO was all around us. We weren't popular. It was a very different time, but very similar to the times we're living in right now. So we lived quietly, and it was foretold that groups of people would move into this area and would bring and combine their knowledge together to make a plan to move forward. Bright Rope and his family were a part of that. Were we fancy? Were we smart? Were we good looking? Were we popular? No. But we knew who we were. We weren't struggling for identity or native identity. We knew who we were. We knew what we had to do. We just had to organize ourselves to do it. So became decades of sweat lodges. And when you say that today, it has a very different connotation. That's when it wasn't cool. We didn't have spirit animals or spirit names or, we didn't have even fancy T-shirts with wolves on them. We had the best that we had, and that's what we were to move forward. But we met. Bright Rope was an integral part of that. Maintaining the land, maintaining, the wood, cutting the wood, the supply of wood, all of those things. So he mattered. He made a difference. As I say, he was a man of his times. And what we decided we had to do through observation by regular cycles of adhering to the cycles of the moon, to the sun, the stars, to our families, to what was need to be done, the rites, the passages, to keep these things alive. And how would we move forward that way? With dignity and with respect. And so many of us went into education, Bright Road being the one of us in education. I still am in education. To bring these values, to bring everything that he stood for and share it with others. And that was a continuous struggle. I've known him throughout the different phases of his life, watched him grow, watched him learn, watched him struggle, watched him start again, each time learning, each time getting stronger. And so each of us is a part of that, one of those eras in time. And that's what we need to keep alive now. The things that you learn from him, the things that you remember about him, the good qualities out of the song, the good qualities, and moving forward. As I say, we are not going to be back. Something has happened, and we have to wake up. Each of us does it in our own way, but something has happened. And with that, life tells us we have to go on. We can't go back, and we can't stay in the same place. They don't exist anymore. How will we move forward, and how do we do that together? How do we help each other and support each other in all of that? Bright Rope's fine. I'm here to attest to that. So if that's a question, it's not. He's fine. We're not. And we're the ones that have to go on living. He's completed this phase of his life. And this, all what I'm speaking, is medicine. If you let something go on, sadness go on too long, you'll get sick. If you don't express it properly, you may take it out on someone else and make someone else's life harder. So we need to, like Bright Rope, sit up straight, do your homework, do his preparations for school. I don't know if there are any of his students here, but he touched hundreds, I would say even thousands of students, people, and all those descendants. And what did he teach? The sacredness and creativity of the word, of speaking, and speaking correctly, speaking in full sentences and creativity, whatever language you speak in. Those are all the rules of living a good life, how to communicate. And on the other hand, that laugh, I can't get that laugh out of my mind. It's just that, whatever it was, however, you know what I'm talking about. And his, goofy nature, his, all of that stuff, you understand. The clownish wisdom that he brought, the informal formality that he brought. He demanded things of us, that we speak better, we be better, we do better. We do our homework. We, finish what we start. We mean what we say what we mean, and we do what we say we're going to do. And that's what he did. That's the legacy. So if we can learn from that, the world will be a better place. He made it a better place. The meaning he gave to our lives, that's the treasure. That's the treasure. And moving forward, life is different now. We have to take those steps now. So thank you. I hope in this it gives you gives us all some strength to move forward, to laugh. What was it? What's important? what's really important. We face uncertain times. We can do this. We've seen this before. We can do this. One of the memories that, and I'm going to finish here so we don't go on and on. One time at the sweat, sometimes we'd sit there and just watch the fire for hours, all night, and just watch. And one time, beautiful fire, beautiful feeling, beautiful circle, and a lizard came out of nowhere, and he stood right at the edge of the fire, and we all went, what does this mean? What is he, all of those things. And then just as we all got focused, he jumped right in the fire and sacrificed himself. And we all went, he's going back home. He's going to sacrifice his individual life to do something greater. He's going to go straight into the fire. And he did. And now that's where Bright Rope is again. He's not somewhere far away in some heaven or some other place or, whatever. He lives in us all. He lives in you all now. In your deepest heart, he's still there. And for all of us. So take heart, work hard, say what you mean what you say, and do what you say you're going to do, and let's make a good world. We're moving forward. The world is turning. Our time is he's an example, and he showed the way, and now we know. Thank you, Bright Rope. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody, for coming today. It's harder than I thought it was going to be. A black elk and Oglala Sioux said, "You have noticed that everything an Indian does is in a circle, and that is because the power of the world always works in circles, and everything tries to be round. The sky is round, and I have heard that the earth is round like a ball, and so are the stars. The wind, in its greatest power, whirls. Birds make their nests in circles, for theirs is the same religion as ours. Even the seasons form a great circle in their changing, and always come back again to where they were. The life of man is a circle from childhood to childhood, and so it is in everything where power moves. My father's circle began as the second of 5 brothers born to Elizabeth Thomas. Her husband James worked in the oil fields of West Texas, and the boys grew up in the small town of Wink. According to my father, it was called Wink because if you winked as you drove through it, you would miss it. Its claim to fame is as the birthplace of Roy Orbison, whose young brother was of an age with my father, and even though he never really met Roy, he was proud to have seen him sleeping on the couch a couple times after class. He told me that growing up was hard scrabble. They all shared a 2-room house, and their favorite game was throwing dirt clods at each other, and they loved it. From humble beginnings, he made something of himself. His family returned to California while he was in high school, and he started a long academic career at Sierra College in the mid-'60s, then widely known as Sahara College, just a few buildings on a dusty field. He had to wake up at the crack of dawn and milk the cow before walking to the Shingle Springs train station to catch a ride to classes. I'm not sure that he loved that part of it, but it was then that he met a teacher who would be a model and a mentor in his life, Bill Hodgkiss. He went on to graduate from Sac State, supplementing his studies with activism for civil rights and against the war in Vietnam. After graduation and under pressure from the draft and caught up in the counterculture and the back to the land movement of those times, he spent the early 70s in various camps around Northern California, meeting a host of colorful characters, influential people in his life, many of whom became lifelong friends. He met our mother in 71 at Little Crow Creek in Shasta County. Years later, good fortune fell upon them and they were allowed to live in a tiny house on a large tract of land abutting Folsom Lake, a property now covered in multi-million-dollar homes, but what was then mostly forced. There, my sister and I grew up, spending almost every day of our summers swimming in the lake while he built elaborate castles of granite walls, stairs, and pathways, and driftwood lean-tos, huts, and sculptures. Those were happy days. And it was in this period that he earned a master's degree in Native American literature while raising us kids, working as an instructional aide at Sierra College, and as a teacher of writing, and Sundays at Folsom Prison. He and our mother divorced. He eventually had to leave that land, but he began another chapter in his life. In the mid-90s, he settled on a beautiful property in Penryn and finished out his 35-year teaching career at Sierra, retiring in the early 2010s. As the faculty advisor to the American Indian Club there, deepened his connections to the local community, to many of you in attendance today. He organized powwows, and most importantly, he met the woman who he would love ever since their meeting 30 years ago, Lillian. Through their relationship, he got to be a dad again in a roundabout way to Maya. He spent his retirement years going back to learning to play the ukulele and make music, learning card tricks, learning writing new jokes, and making art. Arranging elaborate garden gnome scenes in his yard, and in many ways returning to the childlike curiosity of the world that he kept right up until the very end. His circle now complete. It falls to me to give this biography, but it is inadequate, of course. I don't have his gift for storytelling. His way with words is silver tongue. His charm, that unique blend of wit, knowledge, wisdom, and just enough absurdity. He would tell you the same story many times. He would tell you you should see a certain movie, and then immediately completely spoil it by telling you the entire plot, often taking longer than the actual runtime of the movie. he would recount the biographies of musicians and actors that you didn't know you cared about. He would tell you of his dreams. He loved language and its ability to connect us, to make us feel, and mostly to make us laugh. What do you call a chain of islands? What would you call your knee if it were a chain of islands in the South Pacific? Polynesia. Yeah, language's ability to make us groan as well. He genuinely cared about us. And as good a talker as he was an even better listener. And he saved many of us some expensive therapy bills. My father knew the limits of language too, and I have reached them here. I need your help to speak the words of your memories of him, to help me fill and color his story. He helped give me life. He always gave me his all. And he gave his life to save mine. And for the depth of gratitude I feel, there are no words. I would read now his favorite poem. This is Fern Hill by Dylan Thomas. Now as I was young and easy under the apple boughs, about the lilting house and happy as the grass was green, the night above the dingle starry, time let me hail and climb, golden in the heydays of his eyes. And honored among wagons, I was prince of the apple towns, and once below a time I lordly had the trees and leaves trail with daisies and barley down the rivers of the windfall light. And as I was green and carefree, famous among the barns, about the happy yard and singing as the farm was home, in the sun that is young once only, time let me play and be golden in the mercy of his means. And green and golden I was huntsman and herdsman. The calves sang to my horn, the foxes on the hills barked clear and cold, and the Sabbath rang slowly in the pebbles of the holy streams. All the sun long it was running, it was lovely, the hay fields as high as the house, the tunes from the chimneys. It was air and playing, lovely and watery, and fire green as grass. And nightly under the simple stars as I rode to sleep, the owls were bearing the farm away. All the moon long I heard, blessed among stables, the night jars flying with the ricks, and the horses flashing into the dark. And then to awake, and the farm like a wanderer white with the dew come back, the cock on his shoulder, it was all shining, it was Adam and maiden. The sky gathered again, and the sun grew round that very day. So it must have been after the birth of the simple light, in the first spinning place, the spellbound horses walking warm out of the whinnying green sable, onto the fields of praise. And honored among foxes and pheasants by the gay house, under the new-made clouds, and happy as the heart was long, in the sun born over and over. I ran my heedless ways, my wishes raced through the house-high hay, and nothing I cared at my sky-blue trades, that time allows in all his tuneful turnings so few and such morning songs, before the children green and golden follow him out of grace. Nothing I cared in the lamb-white days that time would take me up to the swallow-thronged loft by the shadow of my hand. In the moon that is always rising, nor that riding to sleep I should hear him fly with the high fields, and wake to the farm forever fled from the childless land. Oh, as I was young and easy in the mercy of his means, time held me green and dying, though I sang in my chains like the sea. Oh.
First, I'd like to thank you all for gathering to honor the life of my father, Bright Rope. It truly means the world to have you all here with us today. Thank you, Razzle Dazzle, for your comforting words and your song, and Mignon and the women singers and your healing songs. And Stan for your words, your comforting words as well. Thank you. I remember being little and riding in the car with my dad, listening to the country western radio station. And I looked over to him and I said, "You're like a cowboy and an Indian." That made him laugh too. He said, "Yeah, that's true." My father was many things to many people. Aside from being a cowboy and an Indian, to his brothers, he was Jimmy. Growing up poor but loved in West Texas, they always found comfort in each other with their shared sense of humor. It's abiding wit that only family can wield with each other, but it was obvious to all who witnessed the camaraderie that it came from a place of love. Although he would change his name and become the Bright Rope we all know and love, he was proud of his family and upbringing and would carry this humor with him throughout his life. He loved his brothers. God. To his beloved Lillian, he was a loving and loyal companion whose connection was rooted in unconditional love, the sharing of life's experience over 30 years, a love that endured through loss, but mostly a love full of laughter and easy comfort. Lillian, thank you for loving him the way that you did and do, and for opening your community to him, a community full of people he was proud to call his friends. I pray you continue to feel his warm embrace wrapped around you like a blanket from beyond, and may his spirit fill your heart with laughter once again. To his grandchildren, oh gosh. He was Papa Rope. He loved being Papa. To Maya, Cheyenne, Bubby, Kyan, and Ryla. Always trying to get them to loosen up and laugh, teach them not to take life too seriously. From never-ending card tricks to knee jokes, if you know, you know. But always offering love, safety, and acceptance. I pray that they continue to carry that with them and know that Papa Rope is watching over them and proud. To my brother and I, he was simply the best dad that we could ever ask for. A stable guiding force, creative, fun-loving, open-minded, always patient. Like the rock walls he loved to build, he built for us a strong foundation, each rock carefully chosen and placed. This strength he gave us has helped us get through these tough first days without him. And also, like his rock walls, I know this foundation will endure and continue to carry us through our lives. In the summers growing up, I would tag along with my dad while he taught summer school at the college. He would never get annoyed when I would sometimes interrupt his class with an urgent need like needing money to get a donut from the cafeteria. Instead, he would proudly beam and introduce me to the class. We would weave through the campus while instructors, staff, maintenance crew, bookstore clerks, cafeteria workers would greet him, oftentimes with a big smile and a, "Hey, Bright Rope," as if they were old friends, because they probably were. Students never failing to tell me how much they loved having my dad as a teacher. I was always so proud to be Bright Rope's daughter, his little girl. I hope he knows how proud my brother and I were of him and how lucky we felt to have him as a father. He had a special way of connecting with people with an open heart and that good humor, making them feel accepted and comfortable. Let's honor him today by connecting with each other and telling stories and enjoying each other's company like Rope would have. although we have limited time, so maybe keep it shorter than he would have liked. But we would love nothing more than to hear who he was to all of you. Lastly, I'd like to read something he wrote while he lay in the hospital recovering from pneumonia in December of 2021. It's something I found while I was sorting through papers, and I thought that it perfectly captured the person he was. Holy are the places where lie our bodies broken, the sacred space we share, like mosque, temple, church, grove, or numbered room or cell. The time given to us to pray and heal, bent upon the wheel, ever turning round. Our days and nights journey light into darkness, into light forever. Life into death, into life forever, amen. And holy are the hands that lift and lay our bodies straight, those whose backs are bent by bonds of experience, knowledge, and duty. The ones who stand the watch, soothe and console, who nourish and lift the cup, wash and bind our wounds, who bring forth our breath and cover us to rest a while beneath their holy blankets of love. And holy are the paths they've taken, sun by moon by stars, in journeys near and far, up and down hallways, into rooms, their steps beyond memory or measure. Yet still they come and go, bringing kindness, connection, and hope, asking only, is there anything I can do for you? And holy, those who give us breath and steady our feet, that we not falter nor fall. Those attuned to internal song and beat, that rock us lullaby to sleep and dream dawn's new day promise, ever rising along the horizons of our life. And they only want for us, these good and faithful mothers, fathers, sisters, and brothers, aunts and uncles, is that we, in health and happiness, return home to remember, honor, and share these blessings, going forth in balance and beauty. Ho.
Michaxis, good morning. Hello. I'm Maya, Bright Rope's granddaughter. He was known as my papa. I'm glad to see you guys here today to celebrate the remembrance of my papa. My grandpa was the greatest grandpa, the best one you could possibly get. If you were to ask him to help you, he would help. If you were to ask him for money, he would always contribute somehow. Or if you asked him about English, he would have you sit in his chair for hours talking about it. Or having you play one of his stupid little card games that never worked. Or telling one of his knee jokes that didn't fully make sense. Like, what do you call a knee that can't remember? Nostalgia. I love my papa dearly, so much. He was loved by everyone around him. If you were to ask me, Grandma or Papa, I would say both. Not only did I lose my papa, my grandma lost her significant other. I can't imagine how hard it's been for her and his family and friends. We all had our ups and downs like every family has, but in the end, it was us laughing or joking by the end of the day, no matter what. He tried so hard to stay healthy, to be here for his kids, his grandkids, and even his great-grandkids from my sister's side. He would say no to pizza so he can lose some weight. He even cleared off his treadmill to stay fit. He would always do the little things like bring me food or give me a piece of his toast if I didn't eat. He had love for us like no one has seen. It's hard to believe that he's gone. But I know he's up there in heaven, probably drinking a beer with my auntie, telling her how much I've grown in the little things like how my graduation was and how Trump's still our goddamn president. Sorry, not sorry to the Trump supporters out there. I'm glad to know he's up there with our ancestors, not suffering anymore. I bet he's watching us right now while I'm speaking, thinking, I won in life. He was the best person ever. He was so interesting in so many ways. All his talents, playing his own little game with me called rake ball, and of course calling me his #1 baby girl. And especially him watching me do volleyball, seeing how long I could bounce the ball in my arm. I wish I spent more time with him now. Now that I say that, it's come to a realization I'll never have my papa back. But he's better now. He's not hurting anymore. And I know he would be proud of me if he saw me now. If I was on the phone with one of my friends, I'd have him say hi to my papa. My papa would always be so excited to say hi to them. I would always introduce my papa as the funny papa because he really was. I'll miss his laughter, his voice, or him in the morning getting ready to go somewhere, and always wear that one Pacific shirt, the blue shirt with flowers on it. He's worn that shirt longer than I've been alive. People always say parents shouldn't live longer than their kids. Oh, wait, no. I said that wrong. Wait. Yeah, parents shouldn't live longer than their kids. But he was a kid in my eyes. I won't ever believe it was his time to go. It just wasn't. I don't think forever is long enough to spend with him. He was my forever. He was supposed to stay with me forever. Although everything must come to an end, he watched me take my first steps, and I watched him take his last. He was there for me for everything. Like when I broke my leg, he was there for me. When I had my father-daughter dance, he was there for me. When I graduated middle school, he was there for me. Or when I California danced, he would do everything he could to watch me dance. Whether it was just talking to me or sitting by me, he was there. I remember when I had gotten into a disagreement with my mom, and he came downstairs and gave me a hug. You know that feeling where you could just feel the love on someone when they give you a hug? He was filled with love. I'll always be honored to be able to call my grandpa my papa. My papa was my hero. He will always live in our memories and especially our hearts. Aho.
Okay, I would like now to turn it over to you all to, again, help me fill in those details of his life that are unique to each of you. And you don't have to come up here. I think we have a mic to move around. Yeah. So, again, please help me out here.
I think bright open eyes stared into the somewhere in the sandhills. Medicine is being made beside a river. She is waiting. In her hands, she holds a jalupa rein braided up from horsetail hair. She is dancing back the bison. She is singing back the swan. She is calling horses across the river. She is calling us. It is best to keep water in sight, though our thoughts may stumble at the end. For remember, I'm sorry, when coming to the quiet heart, keep her in mind, her creeks and rivers, as the sun goes down, fish rising to feed, making quick circles on the smooth surface of the water. When Bright Rope and I first met 55, 56 years ago, we were losing our drafty permits. And I remember
nighttime fires and the stories that Bright Rope told around the fire, and the passing of the pipes, and smoking the marijuana, and counting the days. Bright Rope had lost his draft deferment in 1970 when he graduated proudly got his bachelor's degree. So he gets his summons from the draft board to come take your physical at the Oakland Induction Center. Bad news. 50,000 guys a month getting drafted to get shoved into the meat grinder of that war. So he sitting around the fire where I believe I'm the only one left of that old gang. I was the youngest, and now I'm the last. So Bright Rope says, for 2 weeks before he had to go get his physical, he did a lot of drugs. And with help from the drama department at Sac State, he dresses in a bright white satin outfit, satin pants, satin shirt, bright purple tie, neckerchief, and a cape, white satin cape with purple satin lining, a great big hat with a egret feather stuck in it. And he goes down to the draft induction center. And he was a good actor, as you know. And he put on a really flaming gay act. And he comes in this long, and they're ordered to undress, except for your shorts. So he doesn't undress. He's not doing that. Over here, there's a glassed-in offices. And all the people working there are having coffee and tea. No, he leaves the line. He goes in there. And he starts getting himself some coffee and some tea and some donuts. And what the hell are you doing here? He says, I'm getting something to eat, just like you people, right? Finally, the upshot is the draft board told him to get, and I quote, the fuck out of here and never come back. And he never did. So that gave us some laughs around the fire, because in those days, everybody had something they were trying to deal with. So anyway, Bright Rope, I will see you in the sand hills. I will see you at the river.
Okay. Oh, there we go. Now you can hear me. My time with Bright Rope was, in the term of years, a short adventure. And one of the things I loved about Bright Rope was his brutal honesty. And if I did something that I thought was good, he would brutally tell me not to do that ever again. So, and one of the things about being honest, I have to admit that I have to apologize to anybody that's ever had to listen to his knee jokes or his card tricks, because I'm the one that gave him the book of card tricks. And he never let me live it down, because I'd watch those card tricks, and he got pretty good at it with me, and I would always tell him that it was good, or I would tell him the card that he told me was my card was my card. And, I started out, Lillian said, hey, I want you to meet this guy. And we met, and we became instant friends, it seemed like to me. It was amazing how much that we spoke together. And sometimes we would spend late night hours just hanging out and talking and joking and laughing and watching weird movies. In that time, he went from being my friend to my brother. And I have no one left in the world now. I'm going to miss him badly. And I don't know if the Great Spirit's kind, maybe I'll get to go and be with him again someday. And I believe that. And we'll do our jokes. And I'll never forget the one that I made him laugh. And I said to him, I said, hey, what do you do when your knee, what is your knee when it complains all the time about, hurting and stuff? And he didn't know. And I said, that's a needy. And he started laughing, and we would just go back and forth all night long making these knee jokes, and it was just crazy. And I loved making fry bread for him. That he liked my fry bread, and like I said, I'm going to miss him dearly. And I met his family and stuff, and they're wonderful people. I can see how his family would be like him in many ways, even if they're not aware of it. And I say goodbye to my friend, but I know that I'm going to say hello to him again one day. And I look forward to that day. Thank you.
Hi. Oops. My name's Mike Schmidt. I'm just a neighbor of Bright Rope. Moved down the road about 45 years ago. And he's been there about 40 years, so we had, quite a bit of conversation over the years. When I first met him, I'm part of the neighborhood watch, so I go to him and I say, okay, your name and what's your last name and what's your first name, and I'm going to categorize him, put him in get him all set up with the email and stuff like that. And I said, what's your Bright Rope? And I said, is that your last name or your first name? Just Bright Rope. And I went, oh, okay. I kind of backed up a little bit, and I figured I'll talk to him later, Well, I finally found the humor in him. We were walking. A group of us were walking. We have a communal water line. It's a big irrigation line, and it crosses a lot of different properties. And we don't know these people, and we don't. So we got maybe half a dozen neighbors, maybe more, maybe 8 or 9 of us, and we're walking through people's pastures. And a couple guys come out and go, hey, what are you doing? And this fellow with a ponytail looks over and says, we're looking to put in a casino. And that's, my wife reminded me of that. That was so funny. I mean, I said, okay, now I see this side of this guy, And so from there to, his silly jokes, like everybody's been talking about. I mean, over the years, he'd pull up and he always had like a half a dozen of them. And we live in a neighborhood where everybody yells. Lillian knows. She'll be out picking blackberries on the side of the road, and I don't know. I go, hey, like that, and she goes, hey, back, and that's our conversation, So it's kind of nonchalant, but that's how I met him. And then years and years ago, they were talking about paving the road. Now, if you get a bunch of people together and half of you are going to pay in big money to pave, and the other people don't want to pave, they just want to drive on it. I mean, and they're not going to pay. And boy, we had a heated argument, and there's a circle of neighbors and people that somewhat got along pretty good. And all of a sudden, when money comes in between us, there was a lot of hostility, and it got pretty angry. And here comes, pardon me, my voice is dry. Bright Rope stands up and walks into the middle and says, this is the way we're going to do it. This is a talking stick. I think it was a talking stick. It was talking something or another, and you'd have to hold on to it if you were going to say anything. Otherwise, you couldn't talk. And he set it up, and all the neighbors complied. And if you had something to say, you had to like motion over to get that. No one was talking over each other. There was good conversation. It settled it out. He turned into kind of a neighborhood leader. He was what I consider the lead rod that's stuck in a nuclear reactor. You know, he was calm, settled in. He was a great conversationalist. When I would go over to his house and we would talk about history, we both volunteered in the prison. I went into Folsom Prison for over 20 years. We had a lot to talk about. I dealt with the Native Americans over there, and I was always getting his advice on how to deal with different things, you know, because they had these sweat lodges, and they would heat these rocks. And so I got some antlers. I do a lot of hunting and fishing and stuff, so I'd get these antlers and stuff, go through the ward, and they'd pass them through, and then they could pick up the rocks with antlers and stuff. They're always looking to see what's a weapon and what isn't, so everything is kind of weird going in and out, as you guys know. But anyway, we always had a lot to talk about, and one thing I really honored about this man is the way he would converse. He would listen to you till you stopped. There'd be a pause, and then he'd have his words, and then we'd pause, mull over what he said. It was always a learning thing. It was like when I'd go to his house, it was never a 5-minute conversation. It was usually several hours, and it was like going up on the hill and talking to Yoda, you know, and really enjoyed his time. I'm going to end this real quick now. His passing. Okay, a lot of us have sawed branches out of trees, and we know they have their own mind, how they're going to come down, where the errant branch is going to land, how it's going to spring out of the tree, etc. We probably all held a ladder for someone. When you're holding a ladder for someone, where are you looking? You're looking up. You're looking at the person in the ladder. If that person is knocked off the ladder, you have two choices. One is to run, to scurry away, and the other is to stand and catch. He is out of my life now, and our talks at the side of the road will be no more. But he made his choice not to run, but to stand with love in his cradling arms, catch his son. One of them was going to go. He made his choice, and there could be no more honorable death. That he was given that choice makes me jealous, because so many of us are just going to be in a hospital bed for weeks and weeks and just waste away. He was given that loving choice, and what an honor. God bless him.
I've known Bright Rope for a number of years, like over 30, 35 years. I got to start off being a student of his, first in his English class, which I've got to admit was not my favorite subject, but he made it very pleasant. And then later I took his Native American lit class, and that was even better. After I got to be a student, later I got to be his colleague, and even after leaving Sierra College and going on and doing my bachelor's and my master's, anytime I had a big paper that I had to turn in somewhere, I would come back to Bright Rope and say, hey, could you grade this for me? could you find my errors and help me fix them? And he would. And at the end of most semesters, he would call me and say, hey, Annette, can you come over and clean up my Excel spreadsheet so I can get my grades turned in? And I would. And so we stayed friends over the years. He's touched my life in many, many ways. I remember the property up at the top of the hill there that's now Big Mansions. I remember when he was up there, and his new castle home now, and visited with him off and on over the years. Not as often as I should have, probably, but got to visit with him a lot. He was there for me when I lost my daughter. He came and shared his wonderful words and helped me through that time. And I will miss him dearly, but I'm so glad that so many of us the people here and so many people beyond that were not able to be here today were touched by his life and his love and his wisdom. So we all love you, Bright Rope.
Hi, I'm Bronwyn, and I initially met Bright Rope through my very good friend Lillian, who I've known for about 31 or 32 years. I have to, right around 32, 33 years, I guess. And when I was sitting here thinking about Bright Rope, as I thought about him for off and on for years, because he's obviously such a character. And when you meet Bright Rope, you never forget Bright Rope, right? And so, but I was sitting here thinking, and I'm a very visual person. I was an interpreter for the deaf, which is very, picture-oriented in your mind, and done a lot of photography and that kind of thing, and I've always been very picture-oriented. And as I was sitting here thinking, I was thinking about this. My son's a tree guy, and trees are very important to me as well. And I had this image of this tree. I've seen this tree before. I've seen it in Hawaii, and I've seen it on the California coast, but I don't know the name of the tree. But it's a tall tree, and it's like all intertwined. It's like this intertwined tree. It's like this interconnection of this parts of this tree. And it's a very strong tree. And then I got to thinking about how that tree represents community. Right here, we are all in community, which when you think about the word community, it's like common unity. We are all together here. There's no division, right? We are all here because of what Bright Rope has done inside of our hearts and what we've learned from him, the laughs at his corny jokes, all these things, the stories that all of us have about Bright Rope. And when I was thinking about this idea of community, how many times, I've been to his home many times. And even from the first time I was there, I sometimes have an issue with always feeling on the outside of things, like not included, unfortunately. That's kind of a core issue that I'm still dealing with at 63. But when I would go to Bright Rope's house, whether there's a few of us there or a lot of people there, I have never felt outside the circle. I've always felt included. His home, which represents the essence of Bright Rope, was a place of inclusion, a place of love, a place of unity. You could probably go in there being on opposite sides of any issue, but when you go in there, you wouldn't have to talk about the issue, but you would be in unity. And I felt like that tree, the intertwining of that tree, to me represents each of us as part of that tree that's unified, and it has a core, right? But we're all unified together. And when I think of Bright Rope and think about, I don't know, the essence of what I'm thinking about with that tree and that message of unity, just really, I feel like it's the essence of what I came out of knowing Bright Rope, and just never feeling like I was a stranger. It was like when I first met him, there was nothing unfamiliar about him. And to the brother that just spoke, I don't know, he had a black shirt with ribbons. So I just want to say to you, you said that you are empty now and that you don't feel like you have, I'm not using the right words, but that you're alone. And I just want to say that as Bright Rope's community, we are still with you. And you are included in this community. So, as we all are. And I think that that's what I just got from Bright Rope, just by being in his presence, by being in his home. And that's all I have to say.
Well, after listening to everyone, I have to tell you, I've been going down many memory lanes thinking about my life experiences with Bright Rope. And I remember one somewhat recent here in Auburn at the powwow here at the fairgrounds here in Auburn last year. And every once in a while we catch up with each other, our paths cross. And that one particular powwow, we saw each other at a distance of about maybe 30, 40 yards. Our eyes caught, and he yelled out my name. And I started walking toward him. We started walking toward each other. But what made this particular event different than previous times is I was walking with a limp. And he noticed it right away. And he goes, "Hey, what's going on? What's going on with your knees?" And I said, "Well, you don't know this. It's been a little while since we've caught up with each other, but I just came back from the hospital. And the doctor says I have a good case of the measles." Believe it or not. Okay. I hope you hadn't heard that one, so. I love Bright Rope. He did have a great sense of humor, and he did keep you longer than I would tell my wife I was going to be staying there, so. But my name is Dr. Reyes Ortega, and on behalf of my wife, Rebecca, and my sons, Reyes and Mateo, please accept our deepest condolences for your loss. We are here today to pay our respects to a man I've known for a few decades when I began my work in 1992 at Sierra College. Everyone was telling me, "You've got to go find a person by the name of Bright Rope." My family and I had just recently come to Rockland. We currently live in Auburn, but we just came to Rockland out of the Bay Area in 1992. Everyone was saying, "You got to look him up, you got to look him up." As an English instructor, an English professor by the name of Bright Rope, and as I was still getting to know my lay of the land, getting to know Rockland, getting to know Placer County, getting to know Sierra College, it was just a short period of time thereafter in the quad area of Sierra College where I heard a distant voice loudly yell, "Hey, yes!" Well, I was taken aback because, number one, that voice pronounced my name correctly, and number two, it had a pretty nice accent to it. So I was surprised, particularly out here in Placer County in those days. So I turned my head, and there he was. That day marked the beginning of my first step to gain a greater understanding of multicultural education at Sierra College. But more than that, for many years thereafter, my greater understanding of what a treasure our campus had with a Professor Bright Rope as an educator and a facilitator of expanding minds. To learn how to critically read, to critically write, and to critically interpret the world around us. To this day, some 30 plus years later, I still get endless comments and inquiries about the one and only Professor Bright Rope, a man, a professor, a published professor who carried a reputation of respect, honor, admiration, and gratitude. In our professional worlds, Bright Rope was a friend and a colleague. I had the great honor and life experience to co-teach and co-coordinate the nationally acclaimed Puente program that we both brought to Sierra College together. Students, staff, and faculty gravitated to him like a magnet, como chicle, as we affectionately say in my culture. Before I go any further, I'm going to break away from this a little bit and tell you about one experience that we had, one memory that I have, out of many, with Bright Rope with that Puente program. Now, each year we would take our students, a busload of students, to a play out in San Juan Bautista by El Teatro Campesino. And so we would take a busload of students all the way down I-5. We would get to I-5 and make a ride on 152 over the Pacheco Pass and land up there near Hollister. But on the way to Hollister, once you get over the Pacheco Pass, there is the Casa de Fruta. I don't know if any of you are familiar with that, but that's where we would have lunch with our students. So there we were inside Casa de Fruta. We were at a long table, all kinds of students, hungry and hyper, as you can imagine. And there was Bright Rope and I side by side. Well, my side of the family, a little bit of my personal background, my family comes from New Mexico and from Wyoming. And particularly Wyoming, there's not much to do out there except, depending on what side of the train tracks you live on, There's not much to do out there except have families, raise good families, have a strong work ethic, fish for trout, hunt for deer, antelope, elk, and buffalo. So when we're sitting at the table there, getting back to Casa de Fruta, when we're sitting at the table, I open up the menu, and again, Bright Rope is right here, and I noticed on the menu they had buffalo burgers. I was super, super excited. I go, I can get out of my bubble here in California and be with my family in Wyoming just for that lunch period at least and eat me a buffalo burger, just like my ancestors had done there in Wyoming. So the waitress came, I ordered it, Bright Rope grabbed me by the shoulder and he goes, Reyes. And I look at him and go, what? He goes, what are you doing? So I'm going to order a buffalo burger because I got family in Wyoming and so on and so forth. And he looked at me again, right in my eyes. He goes, Reyes. I go, what? What are you doing? So I'm ordering a buffalo burger. And he goes, think about our Indian ancestors. And I kind of just, I'm still getting to know him, he's still getting to know me. But out of pure respect, I looked at him, and I said, oh, okay, I think I know where this is going. So I retracted it, I didn't order that buffalo burger. And to this day, that's the worst cheeseburger I had on that event. So yeah, old Bright Rope. And this is going to come together in just another minute. But yeah, I didn't have my buffalo burger that day. In our professional worlds, Bright Rope was a friend and a colleague. I had the great honor and life experience, I think as I mentioned already, to co-teach the Puente program. We shared and applied our intersectional Chicano and Native American cultures and history and fused that bond to our educational philosophies and applied that shared knowledge within our classroom lectures as we facilitated our classroom settings. Our conversations were endless, and our time together seemed to be forever. For many today, Bright Rope may no longer be with us. For many more, Bright Rope lives within our hearts and will remain within our minds and souls forever. So long as we keep sharing his life story, so long as we celebrate his legacy, and so long as we remember what a treasure he was as a professor, a friend, a colleague, un amigo, and a compadre, it is up to each and every one of us to keep his life flame glowing forever.
Hey, my name's Nathan, close friend of, so many people here. Hey, family. Close friend of Hosa. First off, what do you call a knee to your face? Acne. That chain of jokes was just brain rot in my mind for days at a time, every time I saw him in the last couple of years. So I have a story about when I first encountered Bright Rope. And there's adult themes, so bear with me. I think everyone here's are adults, I think. But, well, she'll be an adult after this story, from this day forward. But she already knows. She's probably not listening. So I was 15 years old when I first met Bright Rope. The next year I was a runaway. And years after that, he became a very important male figure in my life. I would say a surrogate father, actually. Very different from my family that I was running away from. Very important to me. But when I first met him, I was totally intimidated. I played in a band that you never heard of. I was the worst drummer this band ever saw and played for the shortest period of time. And that band you've never heard of is called Killface. And I played drums terrible. And usually we practiced for about 15 minutes, right, and then got super stoned. And between 14 to 16-year-olds stoned can be fairly easily captivated, right? But I think that we were a pretty hardy, smart bunch, And when Bright Rope came into the garage, never seen this guy before, long hair, you know how he stands, right? He's like duck-footed, locked at the knees. He's got like something that looks like a grin, but you don't know if he's plotting to kill you or like tell you something funny, right? Sturdy. This man moves for nobody, right? And if you watch closely, you'll see one of these two with that very same stand. He's cradling a book. He's got his hand over like the title, right? And we're like, oh God, no, not now, not right now. We're gonna have some old guy read to us. This is fucked. And then he reads the title, but he pauses like twice. He's like, memoirs, and we're like, oh God, no, of a gutter slut. And we're like, what? Named Cleopatra. And he just kind of sidewalks a little here and there as he's just reading these memoirs, right? And we're like, no, what? You remember this? Yeah, what? No, no way. And totally captivated, like occupied. And I never thought to look it up online, but like 3 or 4 days ago, I did like a deep search. This book does not exist at all. He was cradling some book, and he was making shit up the entire time. And that is Bright Rope that you know, right? Yeah. Hysterical. I mean, he was, Hosa and I lived together for a time, and he loaned me money, and he's done everything a good father would do. Tough times where the world seems very heavy, very heavy. He was a sturdy fucker, okay? And the thing that is hard for me to really digest today is what tough shoes those are to fill, especially in dark times. Like this was my chosen this was the elder of my chosen family, right? And it's so difficult to just consider even for a moment, like just that sturdiness and that strength to stand so firm, in the face of authoritarianism, in the face of what have you, okay? But he'll forever be in me, and I'm just grateful that I got to spend time, and I'm sad today because my chosen family has lost one of their strong elders. Yeah. I had more to say that was more positive and forward, but I think that it's been said in so many ways today that I think I'm actually just starting to grieve over this and digest exactly what's happening. But I know that his strength and his modeling has been very important to me, and I know I'll carry that.
In spite of all of you, I'm going to make this very short today. I didn't get an opportunity to really have enough time with Bright Rope. I started at Sierra College around, my name is Joe Maduras, by the way, in biology and botany, and started at Sierra College in 1990. Reyes over here, my good colleague, Rebecca Gregg, Annette, I recognize you too. And for the life of me, Hosa, I was trying to remember how we connected. Do you remember? How you and I connected? It was because of and my deaf daughter. Yeah, so, or my hard of hearing daughters. So what a rich opportunity this is to see you again. I just wanted you to all know I'm hearing these absolutely marvelous stories about Bright Rope and how much he meant to all of you. But Reyes only touched on the thousands of lives that were touched by Bright Rope at Sierra College. He was a champion of students that had needs for remediation. He was a champion for those that needed to catch up in developmental English, in writing. The word was very, very important to him. But he brought those people up to speed, and he made a huge and gargantuan change in their lives. Back to, someone mentioned Bill Hotchkiss a long time ago, but Bright Rope was one of the first, if not one of the initial contributors to the Sierra Journal, which was originated by Bill Hotchkiss and others. And I was the lucky person as the editor of the Sierra College Press to revive the Sierra Journal. But it began in the 60s, way back when, and the Sierra Journal lives today because of their efforts. A literary journal now expanded into the arts and photography. Again, he was a champion of young people and the underrepresented. And like Reyes, you mentioned, bringing the Punte program together, underrepresented Hispanics and Native Americans. He was the first one that I ever remember bringing Native America to Sierra College with powwows. And I thought, it's about time. It's about time that we connect with the people from whom we took land and brought them onto the campus. And fortunately, many years after that, those powwows and others that followed him later on brought Native America back to Sierra College. I remember him as a very unique fellow, but always kind and soft-spoken, generous and unselfish, selfless. I wrote it correctly. I said it incorrectly. But probably from just taking what I hear home now for me is I'm a papa too. And I rue the day that I will have to pass on. But I will remember this. I'm going to quit telling pig jokes from now on so that my grandkids don't have to hear this over and over and over again. Thank you for the opportunity, Lillian and others. Thank you for sharing Bright Rope with me and with Sierra College as well.
Hi, I'm Bill. Hi, Auntie. So, when I first met Bright Rope, well, my first memory, my auntie, Lillian, she called me up. She's like, hey, can you come over? Bright Rope needs some tree work done. So I go over, and of course, get lost in conversation. Of course, it just happens. And I had a Chevy truck, and he gifted me with this Chevy bandana, and I still have it. It's sitting in my Chevy right now. But he did teach me a lot, and I didn't get to spend much time with him. But one of the biggest things that I can take from all of the learnings is the peace and love that he has. And no matter what, he'll always live on. He'll always live with us. We'll always carry him with us. And every time I'm in a tree, I'll always think about him, That's all I want to say.
I ugly cry, so excuse me. Buju, and then we magnet okanin Indigena Kasis Tuli Thunderwalker, and some of you know me as Carly. Man, sorry. I know. That's why I didn't put no makeup on. I want to say, how lucky are all of us to have known such a cool guy. Such a weird guy. And such a, actually, like, tremendously happy man. I didn't know him as long as I wish I did. I think none of us spent enough time with him. I'm sure he would agree because he never shut up. But I met him through his partner Lillian, who moved in next door to me a few years ago, and I remember it all began with this bumper sticker that says, "Where in the fuck is Pie Town, New Mexico?" And I'm like, who is this woman? I have to know her. What is this? And then I started seeing all these native things around, and I'm like, oh, okay, because I'm Anishinaabe. And, you know, it was really good to find more of the indigenous community. We became wonderful friends. And, you know, she eventually invited me over for enchiladas or something. And, you know, it's never a short visit when you go to Rope's house. And so anytime they, oh, come over and have dinner, come over and hang out. Okay, I don't have anything to do today. It has to be empty. But I'm really glad that I really tried to always make the time. Gosh, I had all these things, and now I'm up here, and I don't know. As intelligent as Bright Rope was, he was so soft and so silly. And I remember talking to him one time upstairs. We're sitting there, and he's like showing me all these weird little things he's got, and knickknacks and pipes he's made or whatever. And I'm sitting there, and, you know, he's like, what's going on with you? You're quiet. You're never quiet, which is kind of true. And he said, oh, you know, I've been sick for a while and blah, blah, blah. And he was like, oh, you're fine. And I'm like, well, I'm trying. And he's like, you're so serious all the time. Get it out of you. And, you know, I thought a lot about that, and I'm like, shit, he's right. And I think that's what I take from him into the rest of my life is like, we gotta let go of being so serious all the time. Tell some dumb jokes. Don't worry, I don't have any. But smile and laugh. Be silly, be whimsical. And enjoy life. He so did. In every way. I don't think I ever saw that guy sad or upset about anything. And you'd tell him something, and he'd sit back and kind of, you know, contemplate it for the world's longest pause. And then he'd come out with some, like, brilliant, life-changing line, and you wonder where he was taking it all from. But it's really a privilege to call him uncle. Sorry. Crater was really showing off when he made Bright Rope. So, let's all just try to move forward and carry his happy spirit with us. It's the only way to do it. We gotta smile. Maybe not right now, but yeah, what a cool guy. Oh. Lillian wants me to pray. I'm Anishinaabe, Ojibwe. We're from Ontario, Canada. And Rope always encouraged me to speak my native language, and I did when I was little. English actually is my second language, but you know, you're in it and you kind of forget some. And he definitely encouraged me to go back and relearn. So a prayer for Bright Rope. Gosh, hard to quantify. Okay. No Ojibwe speakers, right? Okay, good. You're not going to make fun of me if I mispronounce something. That's great. Okay. Buju and then my magana dog anin. Tinerishi nidigishin kaz Bright Rope. Makwana isin kichimanadu kokoa ila estila. Gichigashi kisin makwadina hishkam chimashkiki dina ya. Mana wuhila din hila wana islistina den po ukwina hela miguana tastin miigwech. Thank you. What I said there was when we lose an elder, we lose a library. But he has imparted his good medicine and knowledge on all of us. It's now our job to remember and do better and continue. And may Great Spirit take him and give him something to do for God's sakes. But miigwech, thank you.
Well, I've heard a lot about Bright Rope today that I didn't know. I didn't know Bright Rope that well. I met him a long time ago through Lillian. And he said, oh, I have these records. They're really, really old Indian songs. And some of them just had like compilations of things, you know, like they were just a bunch of songs thrown on a record. And we learned some of those songs. And we sang some of those songs because of Bright Rope. And I went to Sierra College, and I always wanted to take his native lit class, but I was so busy, never really got around to it. But I also love language, and we would go over there and, you know, to their house and have food, not dinner necessarily, but there was always some kind of food, and we'd be sitting around out in the yard or whatever. And he was... like when I first met him, I said, oh, yeah, and he introduced him. I said, oh, what's your name? And he said, Bright Rope. And I said, okay, Mr. Rope. So I just always called him Mr. Rope. And he was just always very, like everybody said here, very welcoming and always holding a space for all that. And through the drum group, you know, we've done that for many decades as well. So I really appreciate everybody really taking the time to come and share your stories, because I really didn't know many of them. And I didn't really know him in these last many years. But I know he was out there shining his light. And so I have to go pretty soon. But I wanted to tell you, I have a bibliography that he created through his native lit class, and it's many pages long. I'm going to guess it's maybe 20 pages long of just titles of Native American literature. But I still have that, and I, you know, go through it every now and then and get one of those books and read it. So anyway, I'm so happy to be here, and I'm so happy to have had the interaction, and thank everybody for coming and sharing.
I wanted to come up with a knee joke, But Gloria says, no, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. So I'm holding back. Hey, good one. You know, we as bears, we always, we say, that's a bear fact. Oh, just bear with me. You know, bear down. You know, things like that. But the knee one, I'm going to have to work on that. I think I have to reflect on the best story, man, is when he went to that draft board. God dang, I can't imagine the outfit he had on. I'm going to have to hear that one more time today because that was a good one. No. But anyway, in our songs, you know, we have traveling songs. And so, and if anybody wants to come up and join, they're more than welcome because they're easy to catch hold of, and it's a prayer, you know. And so, but I think by the end of the day, I'm going to have a knee joke. I'm going to get that figured out. Really got me thinking. Please stand. It's a traveling song, you know, as we walk with him. That's why I pulled out from here so that way you can see that we're walking with him. And many things happen spiritually that you cannot see earthly, but yet that bears coming in and taking all that sorrow and all that pain and giving it, taking it from you, you know. And so the spirit helpers, they carry him on the other side and they give him to the people on the other side. But we never say goodbye. We always say so long because we'll see each other again. So that is a traveling song. Thank you very much. Aho. Oh. Can we sit down? Yeah.
Thanks again, everybody, for coming. Please join us in the for refreshments in the reception room.
you.